In today's episode of Today in World War II, February 18th, the Finns' second defense line already begins to crumble. Hitler agrees to invade France via the Ardennes. The Japanese take Bali in Indonesia or the Dutch East Indies. Goebbels demands total war from the German population, and the RAF attacks a Gestapo prison in France. Let's get started. All right, so on today's date, February 18th, 1940, if you remember, the Finns had finally been forced to withdraw from the Mannerheim Line, which had kept the country safe from a massive Soviet attack since November 30th. And it just wasn't a few days longer when their second defense line, the V line, began to be overwhelmed, and it was overrun at two locations. So it was going to be very difficult for the Finns to hold off the Russians, the Soviets, for as long as it took to get the armistice and the negotiations wrapped up and signed, because they were about at the end of their rope on this. So, it was fingernail biting time for the Finns at this point of the war. But it should never be fingernail biting time for you, because all you have to do to avoid that stress and heartache is to just subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. Just go below, hit the subscribe button, the little bell symbol. That means that the new YouTube will notify you whenever I drop a new video. It's perfect. Easy for you, very easy for me. I don't have to do anything except create content, right? So if you do that, that will help me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. On February 18th, 1940, Army General Franz Halder reluctantly agreed. Well, I mean, let's put it this way. It was ordered by Hitler, so it don't matter whether he reluctantly agreed or not. He went ahead and incorporated Erich von Manstein's proposal that the main thrust of the German invasion into France, Belgium, and so forth should happen through the Ardennes Forest. So that officially on this date was incorporated into the invasion plans. And as we're going to see here in future episodes, that was a stroke of genius. When you have von Manstein's offensive genius with Guderian's blitzkrieg armored spearhead thrust and Rommel's energetic, aggressive command. I mean, the French and the Germans, excuse me, the British didn't have much chance, as we'll see coming up. But you'll have a major chance every single time you watch one of my videos to do me a solid and help with the algorithm by showing the algorithm that you're engaging with my content. What's the best way to do that? What's the best way to engage? It's to click the thumbs up symbol and leave a very simple comment, and the algorithm will interpret this as you liking my stuff, and it will show it to more people, and thus my channel can grow. So I really appreciate that. On February 18th, 1942, well, the Japanese naval forces captured the airfield at Bali, and this was another stake in the heart of the American, British, Dutch, Australia command. And this continued the steady progress and the ultimate goal the Japanese had, which was to conquer the Dutch East Indies. We know that now as Indonesia. So, they already conquered Hong Kong, they already conquered Singapore and Malaysia, which is how it's known now. They probably had about two-thirds of Indonesia captured. And, the Philippines were, for all intents and purposes, captured, just waiting for the final surrender. As soon as those pesky Americans and Filipinos surrendered at Corregidor and Bataan. So things were going really well for the Japanese. But remember what Yamamoto had said, if there was a war between the United States and Japan, that the Japanese could run rampant for about 6 months, and it would start getting dicier after that. And we're on schedule for that. We're on schedule for that in February. And so on February 18th, 1943, uh, the German propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels made a speech at the Berlin Sportpalast, and it was broadcast on nationwide radio. And he said that the German population must devote themselves to total war, to totale Krieg against the Allied powers. Let's look at the date here. February 18th, 1943. When did the war start? September 1st, 1939. So 40, 41, 42. So 3.5 years. They're just now declaring total war. Seems like a little bit of a miscalculation on the Nazi party and Hitler's uh, you know, part because by this time they didn't knock England out of the war. They hadn't taken the Suez Canal. They invaded the Soviet Union, didn't take Moscow. They got their butts handed to them in Stalingrad. They were in retreat. They only had one major offensive capability left, which is going to happen in the summer at Kursk. But they're being bombed every night by the RAF. The U.S. has come into the war. They've lost North Africa. They lost Sicily. They're going to lose Italy, or they're going to have it invaded. It's just I just wonder what they were thinking. Now they do total war. Talk about too little, too late. But hey, good for us. Good for the Allies. You know, I like the fact that Ukrainians once said this recently about the Russians and Ukraine. They said, we're very lucky they're so stupid. And we, as a free world, were very lucky that the Germans were so stupid. And finally, on February 18th, 1944, the RAF, at the request of the French resistance, sent Mosquito bombers from the RAF's 464 and 47 squadrons to attack the German prison at Amiens, France. Why? Because the Gestapo had swept up a lot of German resistance fighters. They were all under the sentence of death, and the resistance said, "Look, we know that there's a very big possibility that a lot of our resistance fighters are going to die in the bombing attack. This could help some of them escape. They're going to die anyway. Please do so." So the RAF, turned to their multi-purpose twin-engine bomber made of wood. The wonder of tree husbandry everywhere, making the trees into a major weapon. They sent them in, and they conducted this low-level raid against this Gestapo prison in Amiens, and it worked. Yes, a lot of resistance troops died, but a lot of them didn't, and they were able to escape. And they were going to repeat this in a couple other episodes in the future, and we'll document those. One of them didn't work out as well as far as casualties go, but it was a whole different animal, and we'll talk about that in a future episode. So, thank you very much for watching my video today. I appreciate it. I can't wait to show you one more tomorrow.